Welcome, everyone, to the Monday, September 23rd Select Board meeting of Town of Bennington. We're very happy to see you here this evening. And we will, my name is Jeannie Jenkins. I have the pleasure of chairing this board, and we'll start with introductions. And I think Clark, we have Clark on the Zoom Owl.
He's not currently on.
He's not currently on. All right. We will have Clark on the Zoom Owl. All right, so Nancy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Nancy White.
I'm Ed Woods.
Hi, I'm Tom Haley.
Jean Connor.
Super. Also with us tonight, we have Town Manager Stu Hurt. We have Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes. We have Jonas Spivak, yes, he is there, making sure that we are connected to Clark if we can be. He's out of the country, but trying to connect. And we also have both Josh Boucher and Jim Vyers from Cat TV, which is quite wonderful. Do we know whether...
He called me right before the meeting.
Well, he's been on.
Oh, has he shown up? Okay, he wasn't sure if he had a connection.
And then he said he'd be back 10 minutes before. I've been trying to text him.
Okay, so once he's available, let us know. Okay, so, because we'll also want to put what time. Yep. Okay, all right.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, good. Hello, Clark.
I'm still joining.
Okay.
He should be able to hear us.
Hello, Clark. If you can hear us, please introduce yourself.
Right, this is Clark Adams.
Super. Thank you. All right. We will begin this evening, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you lead us, Ed?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And let's see. Tom, would you read the vision statement that guides our work?
I will. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. And then I'm thinking in terms of, let's see, in terms of the consent agenda, could I have, I'm just liking, could I have a motion for the purposes of discussion to vote on the, just the September 9th regular minutes and the executive session, right? Because Jean, you were absent at both of those.
Right. I can't vote for any.
Right, so I'm saying let's do those two, and then we'll do everything else.
I can't do the 16th either, so you can do all the minutes.
Oh, it says you were there.
It does say she was there.
Okay, so you weren't there? All right.
I believe so.
All right.
Oh, wait.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
16th I was.
Okay. All right. Could I have a motion? Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 9th, both the regular session and the executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any discussion on just the minutes of September 9th? Yes, Nancy.
When I'm looking under either the manager's report, or you want to do just errors and omissions, I'll wait then.
Can you, on what line?
You're just doing errors and omissions, I'll wait till we get into the rest of the minutes.
No, we're
No,
doing
we're
all the
doing
minutes of
Okay.
September 9th.
On page 9, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't 9. Wherever Stu is talking about the grant,
Nancy, we need a line.
okay, then I'll go to the end. On page 12, under other business, 401, 402 to 421, it doesn't show that I said the $2 million grant would cost us $200,000.
This is not a transcription. People can watch Cat TV for that. This is a capture of the minutes. So it's not going to be every single thing we said. If there is something that you think is critical that without it, the sense of what you said is not captured, then tell us where it should go
Okay.
and what it should be.
Page 10, starting at 345 to page 11.
You were just on page 12.
Well, this is the discussion. Page 10 and 11, 345 to 357.
Wait a minute. Page
10, down at the bottom.
Yep. What lines?
Walloon-Sac Valley Pathway.
Okay.
It says we're getting a grant of nearly $2 million.
Yep.
There is a 20% match. I think that should show it will be a $400,000 cost locally.
You can't, we're approving the minutes, so you can't
Can't add to it
You
after
can't
the
add
fact.
to the minutes later on.
Well, I did point that out in the manager's report after that, when in other business. I did say $200,000.
Nancy, these are the minutes, so
Okay.
anything,
Well, I have a technical question.
okay.
Under Vermont state law, how long does the town have to post the minutes
Oh, my
from a
goodness.
regular select board meeting?
That's a different question right this second. So we'll get to that question.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't have the
But,
minutes until today.
None of us had the minutes until today.
I'd like to
So-
have it here, but I can't.
Hang on one sec, because Nancy's in the middle of talking.
Okay.
But I can, Clark, I can see your hand, okay? So I can't see your hand, but,
Thank you.
okay. So Nancy, right now, what we're doing is approving the minutes. So for right now, what I need you to do is if there's any line in here that is incorrect, or if the gist of the conversation is not captured, that is what the minutes are for. So is that the case in either one of the sections that you pointed out?
I'm just questioning why the board and the public didn't have the minutes until today.
Nancy, that is a different question, and I said we will get to it, but right now, what we're doing is looking at the minutes of September 9th. Any other comments? Clark, unmute yourself, please.
Unfortunately, I have to go by memory since I can't open the minutes and talk to you folks at the same time.
Okay.
The commentary, I see there was a brief discussion about what I had to say with Mr. Hurd in terms of issues around ARPA funding, but I see a significant omission here with what I consider a significant bit of disrespect from Mr. Hurd, apologizing for my questions or comments on the ARPA process. I think that is pertinent to have been in those minutes, please.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what line that is, and I understand you cannot do both those things at the same time. Nancy, would it be possible for you to go back and look at the tape and capture?
I've erased it.
You've erased
I
it?
don't have the recording. No.
Okay.
It's on Cat TV.
It is on Cat TV. Can we submit something to you? Would that?
I can find it.
Okay, so with the, I guess, indulgence of the board, can we put, so I'm thinking town staff can put something together for us to approve at the next meeting that captures the exchange? Is that, Clark, is that what you're looking for?
Right, it just seems that paragraph in there, which I apologize not being able to cite, it has a state of disconnect. It isn't really reflective of the conversation.
Okay, all right, so so could we vote on these, on the September 9th meeting with the understanding that there will be an addition coming at the next meeting to capture the exchange?
When Sarah lets me know ahead of the meeting, if she wants any changes, I make note of it, and then I always say, as amended in the next meeting. That's part of it.
Right, but we won't have a chance to vote on this before the next meeting, so this would actually go 2 meetings.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Nancy? Because we don't have anything right now to tell you.
Right. Okay.
We've never had this happen, I think, so, yeah.
Would it be cleaner, easier if we just didn't vote on these minutes and just voted on the whole
Oh, that makes sense.
next time?
Can we do that?
Does that make more
Can we,
sense,
yeah,
Nancy?
can we choose not to vote on the
Whatever
minutes?
you want.
Yeah, you don't have to approve the minutes at the very next
Okay,
meeting.
all right, so we've got a motion on the table to adopt the minutes, so I think that means we all need to vote no on adopting the minutes.
I was going to withdraw the motion.
Okay, just withdraw your motion.
Yep.
But then there's nothing that reflects that can
Then we'll move
the
to-
minute,
then
yeah,
we'll move
can
to-
our minutes just reflect that we chose,
Then we'll table it.
that we tabled it to the next meeting?
And you're only
Okay.
and then you're only voting on these minutes for September 9th.
No, we're not voting on,
Vote on the next session. Yeah, we have an executive session to vote on from the night.
okay.
Yeah.
So will someone make a motion to accept the executive session minutes of September 9th?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Clark? Clark? Are you there? This is good. All right, so I think Clark is an abstention, maybe. So any noes?
I got unstable.
Yep.
Was that an aye?
I don't know. He said his internet's unstable. That isn't,
Did you hear something?
yeah, but he didn't say, he didn't vote. So can we make him an abstention at this point?
If the motion will carry.
Yeah,
I'm an abstention as well.
yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Still carries.
Okay, all right. So motion carries with 4 ayes. Phew, phew, that was tough. Okay, so let's go on to the September 16th minutes and the warrants. Could I have a motion for the purposes of discussion to accept the September 16th minutes and the warrants?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the September 16th executive session minutes and the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Clark.
Aye.
Okay, great, so that's 6 ayes. All right, good. Excellent. All right, and we had no licenses. All right. Next up is maintaining order at meetings. Ed, I believe you wanted to speak?
Yes, I have a brief statement prepared for that item number 4, maintaining order at meetings. And I'm just going to read it. During the last regular meeting of this board, there were strong differences of opinion among some of us. This is perfectly normal and a part of the governing process. However, each of us were elected by the voters to come together to do the work of the town, which requires maintaining order at meetings. That order is part of a code of conduct that we all have agreed to, and without it, we may be delaying or stopping ourselves from doing what we were elected to do. I'd just like to remind us all of that code of conduct moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Unless the select board members have anything else to say, I would suggest that we move on to public comment, and if there's anyone in the public who would like to speak to the necessity of having order in order to do our business, you're welcome to do that at this time. Is that a problem for anyone on the select board?
My hand is up there. You hear me?
It just came up, yes. There's probably a Germany delay there.
Yeah, there's a delay. You're breaking up also. I unfortunately could not hear all that was being said by Mr. Wood. So I apologize if I'm not completely in sync with what he said here. But I heard some parts, but the one thing I wanted to be quite clear about is there's a two-way street. And yes, we were elected to represent people, but I feel that Mr. Hurd also, although not a member of the select board.
I do want to, Clark, I do want to, Clark, I'm interrupting you because I do want to remind you that part of the civil code is that we never, ever, under any circumstances, call out individuals. Everything that we do is in the third person, and that is because that is part of the rules and procedure that we all signed, and it is the Vermont League of Cities and Towns Code of Conduct that we all follow. So you are very welcome to say what you want to say, but please do not make it personal. Please make it generalized, because the generalization is the important part of this for you and for us.
Well, I have to be quite clear that what I perceive and what has been communicated to me as a personal attack against me and questioning my integrity and to some extent my veracity. So when and if those things happen, I have to let you and the rest of the public know I have zero tolerance for that. I am upfront, straight shooter with people, but when and if someone feels the need to denigrate me, I will speak up, and I will speak up forcefully. And if that upsets people, I hope folks will look back and say, what was said or done to get that reaction from that gentleman? I think there has been some private conversations with people on the board and town staff where I've made that quite clear, my position on personal attacks or what I perceive to be attempts to denigrate or embarrass me, what that will produce. So everything Mr. Wood says, Mr. Heard, was all reasonable things that need to be understood. Once you cross the line, do not expect a passive response from me.
Thank you very much.
May I speak, please?
Yes, Stu.
Clark, you're absolutely right. I shared in what happened last weekend, and you and I spoke after the meeting was over. We shook hands, and we agreed that we would move forward. And I think that's the way to go.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that for future, we have to understand you are inflammatory or provocative in your speech. You're going to generate an unpleasant response, and I'm not, in order to be my doing it or anybody else. You cannot expect people to passively sit there and have their integrity questioned or them being demeaned or feeling that they're being demeaned. I think that's the most important part of this conduct. There's no need to even remind people of their conduct as long as people are being treated with respect in both directions of any conversation.
We agree.
All right. All right. On to public comment.
I'd like to add something.
We just moved on to public comment.
Okay,
Can we
Jean.
not?
That's fine, that's fine.
Just, So, the following public comment practices to make the experience for all involved a productive and informative use of the public comment period at select board meetings was placed on the podium for those that wish to make public comments. And these are the guidelines we use. Public comment is to allow residents an opportunity to share information or make announcements that benefit the community at large. The topic should not be related to an agenda item, and we are saying that if you do want to speak on maintaining order and the need for that, you are welcome to. But in general, the topic should not relate to agenda items. If a member of the public wants to comment on an agenda item, they can do so during the discussion of that item. Comments should be less than 3 minutes, or 3 minutes or less. Jean has a handy-dandy 30-second comment thing to remind you if you are still going at 2.5 minutes. Speakers are required to state their legal name and town of residence. Sharing comments, announcements, and concerns are encouraged rather than asking questions. Public comment is not a time for discussion. If you have a specific question, it's best to call the town manager to get a full explanation and accurate information. If the topic requires much discussion, the item will be considered as an agenda item at a future meeting. Once an individual's comment is finished, unless a board member has a clarifying question, the speaker is asked to take their seat. And when appropriate, town staff and select board members will respond to questions or issues raised during public comment at the end of the public comment time. If additional explanation is desired, members of the public are encouraged to contact town staff in person during regular business hours or via email or phone. So with that, let's go to public comment. And so if there is anyone that needs to be added at the end of the people that have signed up, I will be reminded to ask if there's anyone else who wants to speak, okay? All right, so let's start with Kevin Hoyt, speaking on corruption.
Thank you, guys. Good evening. My name's Kevin Hoyt, born and raised native Vermonter, grew up right here in Bennington. And again, I don't expect anybody to do anything here, but I just want to kind of put you on alert. One thing that I'd like to request, it's election season again. I'm going to take a flashback here. I'm going to request the select board publicize a letter from James Condos, the Secretary of State, dated December 9th, saying that no one ever looked at any of the election fraud. I'm going to repeat, back then, we released over 500 fraudulent names here in Bennington in a town of 5,500 people. I can prove 60 to 70% fraud, trace it back to at least 1975. James Condos, the secretary, gave you a letter saying that he couldn't look if he wanted to, and then we have meeting minutes from this select board saying no one ever looked. I see that as a problem. I'm hearing lots of complaints. I'm seeing the 2024 cheat right now, specifically around poll workers. There's some other things that I want to, again, put you guys on notice for. We're going to go over some EIN numbers. Again, I'm just going to give you the numbers. CAT TV will record it for us. 03-028-5583. That's the Project Against Violent Encounters. 03-028-4675. That's Bennington County Court Diversion. 03-030-7784 is the Bennington County Child Care Association. Bennington Vermont Sheriff's Association is included in this, but they all match Judge James Colvin's nonprofit MAPS, the Mount Anthony Preservation Society. Another thing I want to let you guys alert to, here in Bennington we have what's called the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. No one's ever heard of it because it doesn't exist. If you look at public records, the headquarters for the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library is 507 Main Street. That's the headquarters for Bar Sternberg and Moss. I don't think he works for a library, and I know they're not paying taxes. All the way across town, Judge Jonathan Cohen. That's also the headquarters for the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. Again, Judge Wesley Mook, Judge James Colvin, who just passed away, right? Again, they're all related back. This is embezzlement, this is money laundering, and this is fraud. Again, all these boards that we're talking about, I saw your 30-second warning. All these boards that we're talking about, it's not a coincidence, with the exception of Nancy and Clark. Most of you guys sit on those boards. I was telling you, again, I requested a response years ago. I requested your immediate resignation along with Chad Schmidt. You never told us what happened to the Chad. And unfortunately, I know you got a police review coming up. I could go a lot more here. But our Bennington police officers, or your Bennington police officers, because they work for the municipality, are refusing to investigate, charge, and prosecute themselves or you guys. I see that as a problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Next up is Mike Bethel, speaking on stuff. Thank you, Jackie.
The stuff I'd like to talk about tonight is, what can you explain under citizens, what are the, what is allowed and what's not allowed? Can people bring in their own private businesses and do like an infomercial under citizens?
You mean under public comment?
Public comment, citizens, yeah.
So public comment is designed to be a time when you can make announcements or make comments that are for the good of all. So for instance, last meeting, we had a candidate that was running come and introduce himself. That's fine. If he came every meeting to sort of give us his platform in little pieces, then we would say, no, that's, people, you've introduced yourself, now you can go out there.
Well, you have
If there is a festival coming up, or if there is, something that community would be interested in coming to, then sure. But I'm thinking that you're asking this for a specific reason, so.
Well, the Apple Barn has a spokesperson for them.
Yes.
Comes in every
Every time there's a festival.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So other businesses can come in and do that too if they have a
Sure.
special or?
Sure. Not if they have a special, but if they're doing a community event, it's a free event, anyone can go. There's music, there's face painting, there's candy corn counting, anyone can go. So there is a line, so, probably if Walmart was coming in to say, we have blue light special, if they did it once, sure, they could do it. If they came in
But I'm talking basically about small businesses downtown. If they're going to have a special or some kind of a special event, they can come and do it also, correct?
Sure, they can, and that would be delightful. I would say that the BBC usually does, when there is a downtown event, the BBC
but I mean, if it's
comes in.
singular
But sure,
business.
if the Gift Garden or Gamers Grotto or the
Maps.
local wanted to come in and
Madison's or
share something, sure, of course they
Okay.
could.
All right.
Yeah, and we encourage them to come, yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
That wasn't that bad, was it?
Well, I don't know why it's named Stuff.
I gotta reach way up there. I'm gonna do some long.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Maria, thank you, Jackie. Maria Doucette, public, you're going to have to tell me.
Public record.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a question, and I was hoping to ask Doucette, but I can ask you because it involves you as well.
Are you speaking about the police chief?
Yes.
Okay.
Police Chief
So
Doucette.
the police chief is not, you're making public comment right now, so.
So
that's-
I won't address him, I'll address you directly.
Oh.
I'm Maria Corrales, a resident of Bennington, Vermont. So at the last meeting, when there was discord and some arguing over integrity issues and things like that, we could see the chair take her cell phone, slide it, and bring it underneath. And what I'm asking is, if she's corresponding with someone, texting, video, calling, doesn't that become public record? Aren't we allowed access to that correspondence? Because it was interesting to see that the police arrived at the end. That's all.
Okay.
I wanted to know, does that become publicly available?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your question. And let's see, last is Debbie Matt on Ben High.
Deb Matt Bennington. I was looking for an update on the Ben High, and I was curious if all the money has been raised. If not, are they short? If they have, when will the signing of the paperwork take place? When does the construction start, if that takes place? And on the, what's it count? Town of Bennington accounts payable check warrant report. Why is the town of Bennington paying property tax at the Ben High? It's check number 401802, page 8 of 10, for $5,154.82. And I was also wondering when the next informal board meeting, I don't know what you want to call it, is going to
Yes.
happen.
Oh,
Listening session.
the next listening session. All right. So I can answer, so I'll start with Maria's question, then if you can do if you can provide some information on Deb or no, for Deb, and at that point, I can look up the listening session because it's on, because we gave the dates for the next 3, but I can at least give you the next date. Okay. So, yes, I was on my phone for a private matter, Maria, and I will say that anytime this board is meeting, we are here to do the work of the town. And anytime there is something that becomes a disruption to the work of the town, the police will come. And as you know, often we have an officer here anyway. We don't have so many officers that we actually can, that they can always be here. But what we do know, Maria, please don't interrupt me. What we do know is that the police do listen in on meetings, and an officer was dispatched here. So, so that answers your question. Can you do the Ben High, and then I'll look up the listening session?
Actually, I can do the listening session first. The next listening session is October 16th.
It's when?
October 16th.
Okay.
Here in this facility from 6 to 7 p.m. I was going to announce all 3 dates in my manager's report, but since it came up now, that's fine.
Good.
On the Ben High, no, all of the funds have not yet been secured, but we are very, very close. I believe within the next month, we will have an update on Ben High with an expected closure date. So we are very, very close on the former Ben High. And I should correct myself. Greg Palmer has sent a couple of comments that it really is the former Ben High. It is not any longer the current Ben High. So to Greg, thank you for reminding me. But yes, we plan to have another detailed discussion about Ben High in a public meeting at a future date very, very soon. The taxes are paid by the town because that is part of our agreement with Chris Gilbert. It is essentially a triple net agreement. We pay the taxes, we pay whatever upkeep comes to us, and we also pay a rental figure. So that is part of our agreement with Chris Gilbert. That is subject to change when the ownership and the entire complex changes hands.
All right, great. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak that did not sign up?
I'm sorry, Nancy.
Yes, please, come on up. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, and forgive me for not signing up. I've never been to this board before and was unaware of procedure.
That's okay. We might not need to lift that, though. Because the other thing that you probably don't know then is that the acoustics are not great. So speak directly into the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Riley Young. I'm a resident of Manchester, but I often commute down to Bennington for work, recreation, dining, similar things. I work in the electric vehicle industry, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the planning and deployment of additional electric vehicle charging stations throughout Bennington. Bennington sits as an important transportation hub in southern Vermont, and the current state of the charging stations locally is, I would say, underserving the current electric vehicle owner population. So I came here to sort of start the conversation going, whether that would be, the board takes up this matter in a separate meeting, whether it becomes part of the town plan that's being developed, but wanted to introduce the matter to you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, do you want to speak to that?
Thank you for that.
So go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you, and nice to meet you. That is an issue that is being addressed by the town's energy committee, and I happen to be the board liaison to that committee, so I will share in the next energy committee meeting your concerns, and then that discussion is available online as any other minutes and discussions are captured. Thank you.
I'll just add to that prior to that, I was the liaison, and actually the town has done a pre-application for a grant that is available to businesses in town, so it's a pass-through for us, essentially. But it's a grant to businesses that have a fair number of employees that would utilize that, and we have a couple areas in town that It could be utilized both by their employees during the workday, but it also could be used in the evening for others. Yeah.
And I just read an article that's going to appear in the banner tomorrow, and the museum is undertaking a huge renovation of their parking area, and EV charging stations are part of that as well.
Yay.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yes, because I think we all share your frustration at driving around looking for a empty spot.
And I have a comment.
Yes.
Town of Bennington taxpayers are on the hook to have to pay for the electricity in charging stations in our local funded taxpayer public lots. This should not be for the town taxpayers to pay for. And many Bennington residents don't realize that. We don't have many charging stations in our public lots today. If there are many in the future, again, I want the town taxpayers to understand you have to pay for somebody else to charge their car. And I don't know if this is how it is happening all across the state, but taxpayers need to be aware of this. This is not their financial responsibility.
All right, thank you very much.
May I
All right.
respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
The only, just to help you, Nancy, the only charging station that we're currently paying for, I believe, is the one attached to the Bennington town offices.
Also the one at the bus station.
Is there one at the bus station?
Yes,
as
there
well?
is.
Yes.
Yes.
The others at the back of the facility are
I realize
Green Mountain
that.
And also the distillery.
And I read minutes from an Energy Board committee meeting where they were talking about them going at the rec center. That is our local taxpayer-funded lot.
Let's not go into this because that is absolutely nothing other than, wouldn't it be nice? So please don't, let's not go there, and we're already off time by 20 minutes.
Well, I just want people
Public
to understand what
comments
they're
over.
going to be on the hook paying for, because nobody else really wants to talk about it.
Well, so charging, once we have something viable to talk about for charging station, it will be an agenda, but right now, all we've done is start the process to continue to build that infrastructure, which is vitally needed. All right, next up, Charter Review Committee update. Yay. Jackie Matz, please come up.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Matz. I'm a resident of Bennington, Vermont. I'm the chair of the town's Charter Review Committee. Thank you for having me here tonight. The other members of the Charter Review Committee are Carolyn Gilbert, Drew Lerman, myself, Colleen McQuaid, Michael Moscato, Rebecca Sentner, and Jim Vyers, who I'm pleased to say are all in attendance tonight.
Do you guys want to just stand up really quickly, just so we can gaze at you? Thank you for doing this.
So we wanted to come and sort of give you an update on the progress that we've made so far, on how we've been spending our time in this committee. I'll begin by letting everyone know that our committee is meeting on Fridays at 3 p.m. at the town office building in the conference room. Our meetings are open to the public. Our process so far, we've looked at the charges that were laid out by the Select Board, and in choosing how to tackle those, we noticed that many of them were somewhat open-ended. They didn't lay out specific changes to consider, but they more addressed concerns that might be addressed through the charter. So in order to address those issues, we decided to form a number of subcommittees sort of based on those topics to do the work of researching and investigating potential changes. So our focus has been on learning and research so far. Those open-ended changes have created a situation where there's a lot of learning to do in these different areas, whether it's on properties or a voting process, things like that. The timeline has also been a little ambitious, so those two things sort of taken together have created a good chunk of work and required a significant commitment from each of our committee members. So I wanted to thank them because they've been extremely committed to this process, extremely dedicated to the work of investigating these potential changes. So thank you all. We are at a point now where we're beginning to move from investigation into deliberations among ourselves. There's some flexibility in that transition, but we are starting to move into that process of deliberating on specific charter changes. I am also pleased to announce that we have had members of our community, members of the public, attend every single one of our committee meetings so far.
Wow.
We've received 13 public comments to date. They've been mixed between our different topics. So, for example, we've received no public comments related to investigating increasing autonomy for the CPORB committee. We've received, I think, 7 for the topic of governance, changes to the select board and the town manager roles and privileges. Our committee has decided that we want to be committed to responding to each of those comments in a substantive way. So each person that submits a public comment, that comment will appear in our final report, and we will address their comment specifically. So far, we've identified 29 different stakeholders that we'd like to speak to. We've spoken to 18 of them so far. That includes members of the Select Board, the Town Manager, the Town Clerk, the majority of members of CPORB, the Director of Facilities, etc. We have 6 additional that we have already scheduled or planned stakeholders that we'd like to speak to, so that's in the works. We have 2 public forums coming up. This will be an opportunity for our committee to share, similar to tonight, the process that we've taken so far to help educate the public on the changes that we're considering and to seek feedback from the public on those changes. Those forums are scheduled for October 9th and November 13th at 6 p.m. in this room. I'd like to thank the Berkshire Family YMCA, who has agreed to provide childcare for those public forums. A press release will be released on Wednesday with all of the details for that. And I'd also like to thank Jonah Spivak, who has been super helpful in helping us put together a flyer and some other promotional materials to make sure that the public is aware of their opportunity to be involved in this way. In addition, we're printing up some business cards that have a QR code that links to the public, the form on the website for public comment, and also includes the dates of those public forums. Without much to share tonight in terms of the specific changes that we're considering, what we'll be recommending, just because we're not there yet, our committee has asked that I return to the Select Board here on October 28th for a second update. So again, I would like to thank the members of the committee, as well as our liaisons who have done a fantastic job at helping guide the process and taking minutes for us, and the public for the engagement that we've received from them so far. It's been really great to talk to many of you and to have these conversations about important town issues, and I hope that continues through the time that we have on this committee. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Looking for Clark. Nancy?
I appreciate the work and time everybody on the committee has put in, but I'm puzzled by a couple of the comments I read from your minutes. Why did the committee want to talk to a state rep from Manchester when we have 4 state reps in Bennington and the Bennington County Senator is here in Bennington?
We actually don't have any senators at the present time.
Yes, so my understanding is that the senators are for Bennington County. I believe you're asking about Representative Bongartz, who was identified as someone who had a good understanding of how the state legislature operated. So as we're considering charter changes and what may or may not pass muster at the select board for the town voters and then finally at the state legislature level, he was someone that was identified that might be able to help us take the temperature, if you will, of the state legislature.
2 of our state reps from Bennington have been in Montpelier, I believe, each over 20 years. Who would recommend to your committee to talk to someone in Manchester rather than Bennington?
So I'm going to ask you to please
Okay.
watch your tone, and also your question was asked and your question was answered. You may not agree with the answer, but it was answered. So next question.
I also read in minutes that some of your committee either has or wants to go talk to people in Brattleboro. I don't understand, who would they talk to in Brattleboro when we have a town full of citizens that would be eager to give you input?
Yeah, so one of the charges that we're looking at is around voting, around expanding voting access to 16 and 17-year-olds, as well as to non-citizen residents of Bennington. There are a number of other municipalities around Vermont who have already undertaken those changes. Brattleboro is the one municipality in Vermont that has so far approved 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in municipal elections. And so we've received some feedback both from their town clerk on implementing that process. I and another member attended their Charter Review Commission, because their Charter Review Commission is currently also considering adding non-citizen residents to their municipal voting eligibility. We have also spoken to members in town here, so we're not trying to limit anyone from the process, but we're trying to understand the implications of implementing something like that.
I would just urge your committee to make sure they're following online the public meetings that they've been holding in Brattleboro. You're hearing from a wide cross-section of citizens and officials. St. Albans just held a very large public meeting covered by Vermont Digger, and I would urge everyone to read those concerns being raised. Many of the people on the committee haven't lived in Bennington or Vermont very long. What may pass through in Brattleboro has always had a very different, I don't know, set of people with agendas over there. Things that pass in Brattleboro, certain things I don't think would pass in Bennington.
I do want to caution us that when the charter review is, when the recommendations are completed, they come to us for deliberation. And I want to make sure that we can certainly comment as individuals, but as a select board, it feels like we're exerting a little more power as speaking as a board member. So I would say any comments that, to the extent we can, let's ask questions, absolutely, but in terms of our personal opinions, that feels better for me to write a comment and sign it as, Janie Jenkins, resident of Bennington, here's what I'm thinking, because it will eventually come back to us, and then we will deliberate it. So I think let's just be a little sensitive to the fact that they are doing their work, and they will bring it to us for consideration.
Again, everyone on the committee had to live in Bennington to be on the committee, so I want to make sure the focus is on Bennington. And I worked in Brattleboro for 7 or 8 years, 20 years ago. I'm aware of the differences in how groups in Brattleboro may do things versus Bennington.
Okay.
Nancy, I'd like I'm sorry, Jackie, I'd like as much input as possible, so thank you for the outreach.
Is there anyone else on the board that has questions before we open it to the public? Yes, Jean.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I am amazed at the amount of work that this committee has already done. You are moving at an amazing pace, and I'm so grateful. I personally am very much in favor of reaching out to whomever you feel is appropriate to help fill in gaps of knowledge or find out different perspectives. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. So that's my opinion on reaching out. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing.
Any other questions from the board before we open it to the public? Anyone from the public have questions, comments? You got it.
Thank you, Jonah.
Meeting, you come over. Well, a couple of things. She brought up one. I kind of agree with Nancy about, we need to really have this shown to the public when the changes are going to be made about the voting and everything else, and who can vote, who can't vote, whatever. That isn't what I originally wanted to talk about, but that is an important thing. I don't want us to get sucked into something in our charter that the general public then afterwards says, I didn't know that.
Well, they're voting on it, so they should.
I know, but we've got to make it very clear when it comes voting time what the changes are, okay?
Yep.
I understand we're voting on it.
Yep.
The other thing is, I got a question, maybe Stu could jump in. Can we get something in the charter that we have a lot of property, abandoned property, that we're not taxing anywhere near their full potential?
Mike, that should be addressed to the Charter Review
Okay, to the
Committee, because
Charter-
vacant buildings is one of the things that they're looking at, blighted buildings. So I would say either if email, does email work for you?
No.
You're not an email person? So it's going to go to the Review Committee, so go ahead and say what it is that you're thinking, but Stu, again, he's not the Charter Review, it's them.
Let me say
Okay,
my thing. And then
so
you-
go ahead and say what you want to say.
I want some of this abandoned property, and I don't mean abandoned, but it's been abandoned for a long time. The old Tuttle's property that Caroccio owns, he just bought the Aubuchon's property. The Putnam Block itself has been virtually in progress for 8 years, and all they've done is renovated the Putnam. Why are they getting a tax break for all of this time? I believe we can start taxing them up to their potential, somewhat more of their potential, which would help the taxpayers of Bennington, relieve them, and also raise the grand list a bit.
Are you making a charter review change, or are you making a general suggestion?
Well, I'm asking, can it be put into the charter that
Okay.
we do have that as a ruling?
All right, so the committee is all here, so they can take that under consideration.
But I'm
Okay?
asking, can it legally be done? Can
Well,
that be put into the charter?
that's their charge, is to look at that.
And I
Okay.
can't ask the town manager if it's legal.
No, you can't, because the Charter Review Committee is here, and that's
Stu, I
who's
just
doing
asked
this.
you, would you please give me a phone call tomorrow? Hey. And could you put something in the charter that we don't have all these rules from the select board when you come up to make 8?
The Charter isn't very long, honestly, if you've
Well,
looked
let's
at it.
add to it so we can get rid of some of this aggravation. Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Mike, it is very much appreciated.
All right, I just want to make money for the town.
Good, we all do. All right, so anyone else from the public want to have any other comments, questions? All right, I think it comes back to us. Nancy, it sounds like you have something.
I have a question for the chair and vice chair. On multiple occasions, I've asked when this board is going to discuss how any proposed charter changes will appear on the ballot at town meeting in March. When are we going to have the discussion?
And that has been asked and answered at least 4 times, I believe. And the answer each time has been there will be discrete lines, and people will be able to vote on each of those changes. And that the reason we didn't do it last time is because we did a major overhaul, including changing all the names from he to they, or, select person, every single thing was changed, and so it would have been pages and pages and pages, and as the town manager has said every single time, the charter change document that was redlined was put in all the voting booths so that people could read it, as well as it was available in the town office. But every single time we vote on it, Nancy, and we've all, I think tacitly, we've all acknowledged our agreement that unless it's 40,000 changes, people can comment.
This has not been answered when I've asked, and I've pointed out multiple times last time. There were several major changes. The public could not vote yes or no on each one. The public had one yes or one no for everything. I have never seen a charter put in front of the public that way, and it should not be put in front of the public this way either.
So Nancy, your question has been noted and it's been answered, and it's starting to become irrelevant because we're talking about something we did 5 years ago as opposed to what we're trying to do now. So if you have any questions for...
And I'll say, it has been our intention that each distinct change that we may recommend will be recommended as a separate change.
Okay, but last time it was left to stew.
Nancy, this
Okay,
board
Ed,
already
Ed,
agreed at how we were going to review and accept and deliberate and propose any revisions that we discussed this when we agreed on the charges for the
Ed, that is not what I am
the
asking.
Charter
All right,
Review
so
Committee.
I'm just going to let...
This is not what I am
Nancy,
asking.
Nancy, this is not part of this agenda item, and it has been asked and answered.
It has not been
And we do
answered.
not need to rehash what happened 5 years ago. I get that you're upset about it, but it is, at this point, not relevant to this
It
conversation.
is relevant because I have specifically asked to make sure this time around, the
And
public...
Nancy, we've told you our intention.
You have not answered the question. You said we would bring it up later.
We've all said that we...
She literally just said that they would be voted on separately, just minutes ago. And we said it when we set the charges.
I'll go back and read the minutes. So every proposed change or addition or deletion, the public will read what it says, and the public will say yes or no on each one.
That's the plan.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I've been asked several times for the past couple of months.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's settled. That's great. Any other questions? Maria, please, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Maria Corrales from Bennington, Vermont. Mr. Hurd, we have a marketing budget with the
Oh, no, the agenda item right now.
No, regarding...
I'm sorry, the
Can we
agenda item right
publicize-
now is charter review.
Ma'am, you could have let me finish the one sentence and say it can't be answered.
It's not...
It's about the charter.
No, well, Stu is not the
Can we put an
charter.
ad in the newspaper before and after for each change so the public could understand? Just
Did you mean the
in the
charter
Bennington
budget?
banner?
Do you
like
mean the
page-
marketing budget?
No,
The charter budget.
changes.
Oh, you said marketing.
Can we have a marketing budget, I said, to pay the Bennington banner?
No.
Usually
possible
the
to use
ballot
those
shows, what the ballot will show is what the question is, and generally, new language is underlined, any deleted language is boxed. And so, yes, you'll be able to do that, and there will be public hearings, at least 2, before the vote, where people can ask not only members of the Charter Committee, but members of this board as to what the change means and why it's important. So there will be an opportunity.
We'll see before, after.
That won't necessarily be in the voting booth, but you will have plenty of opportunity before you go into the booth to understand those questions.
Thank you.
The ballot itself will have the changes, yes
We'll
or
have
no.
the changes underlined or deleted as they are proposed.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, full committee. You guys are
Thank
great.
you.
Excellent.
Really great. All right, next up, the Bennington Police Department update with Chief Doucette.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. Lieutenant Grandy's in the back.
Oh, okay.
And he's
believe
going to jump in with any corrections. I have several different colored markers so I can make notes. But we thought we would try something different while we're speaking with you here today. So again, Paul Doucette, Chief of Police and Public Safety Director for the town of Bennington. Thrilled to be here because we do like to showcase our efforts and our work. So we put together this little slideshow presentation. I've watched other people do it, and it pretty much shows you some of the great things that we've been doing in Bennington. I'm sorry. So we have a couple things to get through, and then we're going to go back. So most recently, we had Bennington Night Out up at Willow Park. Some of the select board members were there, and we had lots of people from the community, and we have lots of happy people getting popsicles. Lieutenant Grandy and I, showing off the Bennington Police Department ATVs. We did give some kids some rides. We had a great time. Look at the smile on this little kid. He loves the police. Actually, I think he really loves the ATV. But the bottom line is that was just another thing that we did up at Willow Park. We had cotton candy giveaways, and that was pretty fantastic. And look at the group of people looking for backpacks, because we worked with the banner and others, and we handed out lots of backpacks. And it was great to see all the kids smiling and the parents smiling because they didn't have to buy a backpack, and things like that. So this event at Willow Park was pretty amazing, part of our community policing efforts. Here we have Gracie, and Mr. Baranowski came with his race car. You can see he completely supports the Bennington Police Department, and everybody loves Gracie, so we put her in there too. This young lady was one of 4 individuals. We had a local vendor who supplied us with backpacks and lunch boxes and all sorts of things. She was super excited to come down to the police department. She won one of the raffle prizes. That was a result of Bennington Night Out. Here we have our friends from the fire department, our infamous fire chief right here. Look at that smile he's got going. That ladder truck is amazing. Not only does it put out fires, but it brings a lot of smiles to people's faces, especially when it's hot out. So we love the Bennington Fire Department and the relationship that we have with them. Of course, our buildings and grounds folks were there as well, along with a lot of other vendors and sponsors. So Bennington Night Out went extremely well for us, again, as part of our community policing program. Hey, look at this. Right? Operation Isaac right here, well underway. This was the start of our 30 by 50 storage facility. We can see that our Public Works guys are in the mix here, no pun intended, the cement mix. And they did an amazing job, and we're going to go through some progression here. We won't spend a lot of time on this because you can drive right up Orchard Road and see what we've got going on. Here's our concrete pad. I know it doesn't look like much, but it didn't start as much. And Lieutenant Grandy and I placing challenge coins in the concrete. I thought that they would just plop right into place. Not so much. We had to chisel away a little bit, and it was fantastic. So this little project has moved right along. Here, the front pad is going down in front of the building. And again, our Public Works guys working hard to make things happen for the police department. Here we have our buildings and grounds folks and our Public Works folks. On the left side is our storage building, and on the right side is our animal control building. This area right here are our runs. This is going to be all topsoil. We're going to have a little blacktop in here. Almost done, but these guys have done an amazing job for us, and we're very proud to work with them. Again, the front of our building, you can see we have pretty intense security here for obvious reasons, and we're loving that, working with Nick Cave. This is just a little snapshot of what our building looks like at night. We have all of the safety features, including security. We have our bollards in place, recommended by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and things are just going very well for Operation Isaac. This is the start of our animal control building. Again, doesn't look like much here, but let's move right along. Here it is, up, windows in place. I put that window in myself, if you can believe it, right here. And the inside of the building, I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. These guys, our buildings and grounds folks, are around the roof here. Jason Burnham, Corey Briggs, some of my folks volunteered their time to make this happen, and it's been a great little community project. Mark Sawyer right here, hard worker. Ian Harrington, hard worker, as we're putting up the trusses on this building. and things have gone very well. It's got siding. This is the inside in its current state. Very well protected, because obviously if we have dogs in there, we got to be able to wash things down, and things are moving along. The fencing is going to be delivered, and everybody asks, what do Paul and Cam do? Do they ever get a break? So Paul and Cam took a little road trip. We went down to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We've been working with Jonah. He's inspired us. We've got the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We've got the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Bennington coming up. So Cam and I took a little road trip, and we stopped in Philly, and we actually got to review the Declaration of Independence. So I thought I would just throw that up for you and let you know that that Mr. Hurd actually does let us get away from the office periodically. And but we did go down, and there was a picture of us with the Liberty Bell, but it had a crack in it, and I wasn't that impressed. So, hey, listen, here we are, right down at Walmart, and this is 9/11 store manager Bonnie down at Walmart. My new administrative assistant. We filled that position after 2.5 months. Thank you, Lord. And the sheriff was there along with Lieutenant Harrington. Cam and I are here, some of my staff, and we tried to get this guy to come on board with us, but he makes too much money at Walmart. So the 9/11 event down at Walmart was fantastic, and we were supported by all the local first responders. I did see Nancy out there. We appreciate that out in the crowd, and Clark was there as well, and it was a nice event. They actually let me speak, but there was a timekeeper, and I had to keep it to 10 minutes. This here, this guy is too old to join the police department, but these guys are older and may not be here forever, but we recently hired Christopher Miller, who's a level 3 law enforcement officer. He resides here in Bennington County, and he is a great asset to us, and recently started. He's been with us for about 3 weeks, and he's working out really well, and we're happy to have him. He told me that this is the first time in 12 years or something that he hasn't had a beard. We don't allow that unless it's to fundraise, and so he had to shave his beard. That's another story. So, hey, listen, this is very serious. If you notice this guy right here, who's that guy? That's Fred Gilbar, a retired Bennington police officer. He is the state president of the Bennington Elks Lodge. He was not the state president when this happened. Good-looking guy right here, big smile. I have that big smile on my face because one of our detectives, Corey Briggs, received a statewide award from the Benevolent Protective Order of the Elks at their state convention, and for all of his work in keeping Bennington safe and all of his drug work, fighting gang violence and things of that nature here in Bennington. We nominated him. We are extremely pleased that he earned the award. He didn't win it, he earned it, and I took Corey, and we went to the event, and very, very, very proud of Corey, as well as the rest of my staff. So. Fred doesn't change, though, if you know Fred. Look at that big smile, right? So we're proud of Corey. Hey, Smokey the Bear just celebrated a birthday in August, and just wanted to share that with you. I do love Smokey the Bear. I'm 56 years old. My wife's wondering when I'm going to get rid of my 3-foot Smokey, but I'm not doing it. Who is this guy?
Oh, my God.
Who is this guy? Right? So this is Stark. This is Stark. And General Stark, right? This was Stark's first media interview with News Channel 10 and Ryan Peterson, and we're pleased about that. Our next step with Stark was Stark went to West Mountain Animal Hospital and did puppy obedience and actually graduated. And Stark's been away, so for the first time in a while, we're going to bring Stark in. And all I ask is that you not touch Stark. Stark is going through some training, and I love this guy, Jim too. And Stark, you can bring him right out in front. Stark just completed patrol school at the Vermont Police Academy, and he is absolutely amazing. He's home for about 5 weeks, and he's going back for drug school. But if you guys take a look at Stark, where he was at the day that Officer McCauley and I went, whoopsie, we went and picked him up. Look at this guy. Look how cute he is. He's even cuter now. And he's in a situation now. He was very young to go through the Vermont Police Academy, but he did extremely well. Officer McCauley, anything you'd like to add?
So he's now certified in tracking. We also did training with various searches, so for search and rescue. And then in November, we go back for a drug certification. But he was about 6 months old when we started, which is about 6 months younger than they generally have dogs go through. And he was staying head-to-head and with all the dogs that were a year, 2 years, 3 years old, and he was able to track at the same ability that they were. So we're extremely happy with that.
And just a reminder, that, we all know, because I've talked about it before, the community raised a lot of money so that we could keep our program alive and well and add to it. And we're pleased to have Stark, but we'd be remiss if we did not mention Gracie. She's still out there working hard, and Stark does not let Gracie push her around as she initially did, as he continues to get bigger. So that was kind of our little thing for tonight as far as bringing Officer McCauley and Stark in, because they've been absent, and some people have asked where Officer McCauley has been, but generally people wanted to know where Stark was. So Stark and Officer McCauley have been back on patrol now for a week and a half or so, and we're pleased to have them back, both very knowledgeable, one a little bit better looking than the other, so you decide. So thank you.
Oh, look at that bounce in his step.
He's a good boy. Both of them. So listen, we're just going to do a couple more things. I want to kind of get you caught up a little bit. Jeannie, just a little correction for you. The blue light special was at Kmart, not Walmart. And I want you all to know that the last official full-size Kmart has closed. And so no more blue light specials unless Lieutenant Grandy is behind you and you've committed a traffic violation. So hey, just a couple things real quick on our community policing. The officers are out and about. We're getting a lot of positive feedback about the officers out on foot. We're making that happen. They're not just out on Main Street. They're in the shopping plazas. They're on Pleasant Street. They're on the River Walkway. They're behind the buildings on Main Street. They're up on Silver Street. We're down at Walmart. We're down at Home Depot, Hannaford. If you see an officer in there, they're not shopping. They're letting their presence be known at different locations. We've had a lot of positive interactions with community members and shop owners and things like that. So we're pleased about that. We had a lot of things going on. You guys all know that we had Garlic Town and downtown Bennington. Our police department was instrumental in providing safety and security for that. We had Soberfest up at Willow Park, which was a nice event, well attended, and I actually got to play some drums when I was up there. I'm not really that good at it, but I tried. The 9/11 event we talked about, we're so pleased that the American Legion and the VFW were there to support us, as well as other first responders. Coming up real soon as part of our community policing efforts, we'll be working with the Drug Enforcement Administration, and we're going to have Drug Take Back on October 26th. We're also going to be working with Jeannie Mintroni and the Better Bennington Corporation for the Downtown Harvest Festival. Not an advertisement, just want to let you know what's going on. But again, it's on October 19th. And we have got several trunk or treat events scheduled coming up. And we're actually talking about not just candy, talking about doing tangerines and things like that. We do want to be somewhat popular, but at the same time, we want to offer other alternatives. So doing a lot with training. I know some of you think, well, geez, Chief, it's only September, but we'll be coming up on year end, the calendar year end, and there are different types of training that we have to complete. So I'll stay away from that long list. But hey, staffing, where are we at staffing-wise? That's a great question. Well, thank you, Chief. The question is, where are we at? We're still down 5 officers, even with hiring Chris Miller. I've been having some conversations with the town manager, or the lieutenant, the assistant town manager, about how we can maybe change that up a little bit and make the Bennington Police Department a little more attractive. It's tough when you are competing against so many other departments. And but on a positive note, our communications staffing level is now 100% full. And our communication staff is amazing. They're the ones that answer the phones, and they tell us where we need to go, and the fire departments, the rescue squads, and all of that. So we are at full staff with that. We were able to hire Mariah Coley, and she was a communication specialist over in New York, and she has come our way, and we're very happy to have her, and we're very happy to be up to full staff. So, hey, traffic calming, right? Everybody's like, where's the police? Well, you know, we had a situation a couple years ago. We toned things down a little bit, and we're moving back into place. I'm very pleased to tell all of you that we just got our grant award from the state of Vermont, and the Bennington Police Department is receiving $104,000 for traffic enforcement in and around Bennington, Old Bennington, and North Bennington. So that's an overtime rate, pays for mileage, things like that. We do know that our one speed cart is highly sought after, and a lot of community members call and give the lieutenant a hard time and say, hey, I need that speed cart. We have a list. We have a list. Speed carts are not cheap. So I want to tell you that Lieutenant Grandy and I worked hard, and we, as part of our $104,000 that we're receiving, $10,000 of that is for a brand new speed cart, which is not a norm. Generally, equipment cannot exceed $5,000. We put our proposal together, we submitted it, we didn't even bump heads on this. We talked back and forth about the best way we were going to make this happen, and so we will have a second speed cart. We will not order that speed cart until we get our fully executed grant awards, which will be sometime next month in October. And as soon as we get that, we know exactly what we want. We cannot deviate from what we submitted, so there's no changes there, and it will cost right around $10,000. I think they actually gave us $6 more than we asked for, but because they wanted a round number. But so again, it's not a norm. It required state approval and federal approval, and we're very excited about that. And then my next project that I'm working on with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns is I'm seeking funding for new body armor and external carriers for 8 members of the Bennington Police Department, and that would be paid for if we're successful through a grant process with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. So a lot of positive things happening. I could go on and on and on, but I'm watching my phone here, and I wanted to leave just a little bit of time so that Lieutenant Grandy and I could answer anybody's questions.
Fantastic. All right, let's start with us. Yes, Jean.
Can you please share when Socktober starts?
Yes, that would be in October. Socktober? October.
Boy, you stepped
Did you
right
set me
into that
up?
one.
Did you try to set me up?
No, I'm just really dumb.
So, no, honestly, it's a great question because not everybody puts that into correlation. So we are, the Bennington Police Department is, again, participating in Socktober. I almost said in October, which it is in October, but we'll be participating in Socktober in October. And you may drop off clean, unused socks at the Bennington Police Department, and we're super excited to participate in this again. And all of the socks, as you know, get donated, and we're very excited to participate in that. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're quite welcome. And I have another question. We keep getting comments about loud muffler noise. Could you just address what you're able to do, if anything, about that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. We have people that they have a loud exhaust, right? Some of these people choose to have that loud exhaust. It doesn't mean that they have defective equipment. So we need to be very careful with our motor vehicle enforcement. Are we stopping someone that has, I mean, you can go down to the Chevy garage or the Ford garage. I'm just going to pick on the two of them, and I do drive a Chevy truck. You can opt for a $400 and some odd accessory so that when you start your truck or your car, it sounds like a very loud Corvette or what have you. And so, you know, it's very difficult sometimes to decipher who's got an add-on on their vehicle or who has legit defective equipment. Sometimes it's obvious because the muffler's dragging and its sparks are coming up and things like that. But so it is a condition of vehicle violation if it's the latter, and you know, the fine is $162. And generally what happens is, at least in our department, if someone receives a condition of vehicle violation, we generally try to work with the people because why, this is just my opinion, why are we charging someone a $162 violation for a condition of vehicle violation when they can take that $162 and fix their vehicle, right? So you write the ticket, it goes to traffic court, as this is just an example, it goes into traffic court, the person brings in, shows that they had their repairs made, and we can make the fine a little more reasonable. We encourage our people to do that because it's to change behavior, right? We want to change people's behavior. If you're going to continue to drive around without a muffler on your vehicle, you're going to get a ticket, right? And then you're going to be given that option to correct that behavior. And that's something that we do. I'm not saying every law enforcement agency does that, because we do find, honestly, that issuing a warning repeatedly doesn't work because there's no consequence, right? So that's one way we can change things. We do know that that there are people that drive around with a condition of vehicle violation, and if they're stopped, that's how we generally would handle that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask, can you talk a little bit about BENSTAT and what that process has been?
Lieutenant Grandy would love to come up to you and talk to you about BENSTAT. And the only reason why I'm going to defer to him, quite honestly, is because this man works extremely hard with BENSTAT. And BENSTAT has changed some of the ways that we're doing things, and I'm not going to take away from him because he has worked extremely hard on this. Cam?
Sure, thank you for letting me come up here and speak about BENSTAT. So BENSTAT's been inception since April. We meet monthly with some of our community partners, and what we do is we take Bennington Police data on 3 topics: high-frequency individuals, high-frequency locations, and then combine those as well. And then we take that in 2 different data sets. One data set is a rolling 6-month data set, and then one is every 30 days. We take that information and we look at those high-frequency individuals, and then as we see them in those data sets, we take that information and we meet at our monthly meeting, and then we identify, why is this person using so much police resources? Why are they involved with the police? Why are they calling the police? Whatever the reason is, and then we take that information and we identify the needs: unhoused, substance use disorder, or is it criminal or non-criminal events? It's a lot of information. So the data team gets this together, we put it together, and then we meet, and when we identify a high-frequency individual, we get them to, meaning someone in the room, agrees to take that individual and try to meet with that individual to have them sign off on a release. Not only do we work with the information that is derived from the Bennington Police Department records management system, but we also work with the hospital with their data, and the school, the SVSU. And we take all that information, and then we identify what's going on in this person's life to result in whether or not it's, high police use, high use of the hospital, going to the hospital, and or if there's delinquency with the in the school district. And we take all that information, and we try to give them services faster. We talked to our other partners around the state, and a lot of it was about hotspots. You heard a lot of that over the last couple of years on hotspots. And we took a different approach here in Bennington. We thought that hotspots is something that we do need to look at, but we wanted to get information to individuals who are using services in a high frequency time quicker, not waiting 6 months. So after, we look at that 30-day list, and if we're seeing the same person over and over again, there's something clearly going on in this person's lives that need immediate resources, and that's how we function.
Fantastic. It seems like community policing at its very, very, very best.
It's coming from, the staff, our staff, it's people who already have assignments and positions within the department, and this is just added workload, but it's working.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
So I'll just add to that, just so that we're not remiss in missing out. Our communication staff helps us immensely with this project. Cam, myself, and others, we attend meetings, right? But with the staff, our communication staff, being able to pull data for us, it's worked very well. And so far so good. We're looking at other locations around the state, Springfield, Vermont, Brattleboro, Vermont, in Rutland as well, and seeing how they're doing things. And I've conferred with the Brattleboro chief, Chief Hardy, and they're following the same path that we're following, and making sure that we're addressing individuals and not hotspots. It started as hotspots, as the lieutenant told you, but you have to address the root cause, and it's working out for us very well. As Lieutenant said, it does add an extra workload, but at the same time, if we can address the issues, it will lighten the load in the long run. So that's really what we're trying to do is make people safe.
Super.
So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Yes, Nancy.
Paul, have you started holding meetings with the BBC and downtown business owners for more of a focus on the downtown?
So Jeannie Mintroni has had some meetings, I understand, and that's something that is on our list to do, is to meet with downtown business owners and learn more about what their needs are as well.
I would hope that if there are going to be meetings, they can be warned publicly a week in advance. I've talked to several citizens and a couple of business owners in other parts of town that certainly would like to be part of the discussion. And is there any talk about doing anything in Bennington, such as the See Something, Say Something campaign that seemed very successful across the country several years ago?
We actually still have the See Something, Say Something. We have a telephone line that's designated for that program. People can also send us anonymous tips through our website, and that's how it's kind of metabolized and grown. It used to just be the phone line, but now we take information through our website as well.
And is anybody locally, I haven't heard it, I just read an article last week about it, is anybody focusing on the One Pill Can Kill campaign?
That's not anything that we're involved in at this time.
I'm sorry?
It's not anything that we're involved in at this time.
Okay. I just read about it, and to me, it's something that would catch the attention of our youth or even our young people, and maybe that's something, if we could focus to get out there, to have people try to think twice before they try something for the first time.
Yep, that's a good idea. Oops.
Yes, Jean.
I'm just curious about Benstat, is that what it's called? Benstat?
Right.
How many other communities are doing it, and who found out about it? How did this happen? It's amazing.
We did this. This is something that was originated out of Bennington. We started meeting in March of last year on Project Alliance. We had several meetings over the period of time, and it was a couple of us. John Rogers, I'm sure you all know who John Rogers is. He and I got together, and one of our communication staff who helps pull the data, we got together, we went to other communities to see what they were doing. A lot of them were focusing, like I said, on hotspots and not individuals. And, it was John's vision and our vision to do that high-frequency individual and meeting with and identifying a person's needs and where and why they're using that, what resources they're using and why they're coming up in our data so much, and getting that information to them and getting that one-to-one face to them on a different level than law enforcement going up to them and dealing with some type of event that they're having in their life that, they're calling the police or we're, going to wherever they are. Instead, we go to them and say, okay, we know that you're having these issues. This is what we can do for you, or this is, what can we do for you?
And what's the reaction that you get?
So right now, I think we're at only 4 people have signed off on the release form.
What does that mean? I don't know what
It's a release form so we can get into we can share their information.
I see.
We as the Bennington Police can share information because of our organization, but other agencies like the hospital can't.
Right.
And, the SBSU can't without that release. So once we get that release, it explains everything, what we're about, what we're doing, and how we can hope to help you. And so right now we're working with 4 cases.
I think it's important too that you realize that it's hard to stand here and just talk about the work that we're doing. We couldn't do all of this without our community partners, United Counseling Service, Southwest Vermont Medical Center. I mean, the list goes on and on. Turning Point's amazing also. I mean, there's a lot of positive things going on there under their leadership. And, it's just not, we in law enforcement feel like we finally got the attention of others and they're going to finally help us, because we were getting buried. Let's be honest. I mean, when all else fails, after 4 o'clock, the state office complex is closed. Yep. Who do you call? You call the police, whether it's Bennington, Manchester, Winhall, whoever you call. I mean, and the thing is, we don't have all of the resources at that time of day that there is during the day. So when we identify people that need resources, we can refer them to those resources. But for us, we can share information. I'll give you one more great example is our operation with Projects Against Violent Encounters. We do referrals so that victims of domestic violence can get help. And we can share information up to a point, right? And then it's up to those people that are victims to move forward with that. And things have changed so much for us. It used to be, an intensive form. You had to sit there and fill out the whole thing. Whew, now in the days of electronic devices and QR codes, it's fabulous. Real time. So, things are getting better in the sense that we're able to direct people to resources instead of just dealing with them night in and night out and just, okay, well, we're going to deal with Joe Schmo again. Now we can, refer them, and it's working. It's working for us. And that's, again, I don't want to keep using the word community policing, but that's what we're doing. We're doing the things that need to be done. So, okay.
Are there any other questions from the board before we move to the community? All right, anyone from the community like to ask a question or make a comment? Okay.
What I want to call it, the the police department. I think they do a heck of a job with the resources they got and the staff they got. I want to put a plug in. I think we, in the budget, and I hate even thinking of raising taxes, but I think we need to put more in for our police department so that we can get a better job of policing in our town, in downtown and everything. The second thing is there any kind of a fund you could set up so people could donate like they did for the dog, to donate to get you another one of those speed monitors?
Well, we will, after we make this purchase in October, which our expected delivery is probably March, we'll have 2. And just keep in mind...
So you will have 2 of them?
We will have 2.
Okay.
And we'll be able to move those around. Our newer police vehicles are coming through standard equipment with a trailer hitch now, and that's really what we needed. We used to just have to, get a truck and move it around, but they all come through standard now, nothing extra, standard, with trailer hitches and things like that. So I think we're going to be in good shape with 2. And the reason why I say that right now is because it's also time and effort to move those, pull the data. It's not as simple as saying, hey, Ed Woods has a problem speeding in front of his house, and he says we can put the speed cart there. You got to move it. You got to lock it down. You got to collect the data, and that's part of the deal. It's
well,
not.
I hope you put one on Gage Street instead of front of Ed Woods' house. Because I live on Gage Street.
I think buildings and the Public Works Department's doing a pretty amazing job up there, and my fear is that once they fix all of that, people are going to go even faster.
Put one hell of a speed bump. Put one hell of a speed bump in front of his house, and they won't do it anymore. The other thing is, I know you're getting older, both of you, and I appreciate that. I'm older than you guys. But is there any way we could hire that dog Stark to take one of these guys' places? It would be a lot cheaper, maybe in salary or something. And don't shoot me on the way out, okay?
Listen, I have to tell you, you're very fortunate to have Cam here, and I've enjoyed my career here.
We've enjoyed you, bro.
I want to just share with you, and I tell my children this. One is 26, one is 25. When I first started on this job, I was making $7.65 an hour. I worked at CBS, Consumer Value Store. See, you learned something tonight because no one knows what CBS is.
Yeah, right.
I worked at CBS and I worked at Haynes Ford part-time. I had 3 jobs so I could afford my place that I was living and a new truck, of course, because I wanted that. And people today don't realize that how difficult it is to actually hire and retain somebody in law enforcement. Back in the day, everybody wanted to be a policeman, everybody wanted to be a fireman, everybody wanted to be a paramedic. Look at the Bennington Rescue Squad and the turnover that they have there. And it's not a dig. The police department, we hire people, they realize how much work it is in Bennington, and they want to go work someplace else. And I'm not picking on anybody that's left the Bennington Police Department, but my people work extremely hard, and they deserve what they get, and maybe a little bit more.
I didn't mean that as a negative. I hope you understand.
Oh, no, listen, I'm just having fun with you, because I'm going to put a speed bump in front of your house.
You all heard that? Like something done immediately
I heard
to
it.
this officer?
Oh, anyone else in the public have a comment or a question? All right, thank you. That
All right,
was
guys,
excellent.
thank you. Listen, we look forward to coming back maybe in December. We've got some things that we're working on, and I'm sure that you'd like to hear from us before the end of the calendar year. So maybe, Stuart, if you can work that out with Jeannie and Ed, and we can see how things are going. But we appreciate your time. We appreciate the support from this community. And, we did not mention the Community Policing Advisory Review Board tonight because I guess we're not supposed to get along, but I'll tell you that's one of the best things that's happened to this department in the last 2 years is getting the public's input. So we appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. All right. You guys are so patient. All right, next is Hometown Heroes Update with Dee Culte and Shirley Adams, bringing us, I think, excellent news.
Hi, thanks for having us tonight. We just wanted to give a brief update on where we are. I'd like to thank the Select Board and you, Stu, for working with us almost every day. We also would like to thank the Banner families for their patience in this long process of ordering banners, receiving them, and then having them installed. 38 banners we've received to date, and an additional order has been placed for 25 more. We have 6 applications being processed right now. So really, with our numbers were reduced from 96 to 80. We have about maybe 10, 11 spots left for banners. Banner installation. Stu, can you help us with that?
We hope to begin placing the banners beginning at River Street and heading north to the Veterans Home. We'll probably be working on one side of North Street so that it aligns all the way to the Veterans Home as close as we can get, no later than Thursday of this week.
Yay!
Wow.
Okay.
In the past, up to this point, we've been doing paper applications. We'd like to change that a little because it's become very cumbersome. So if there are folks out there who have an interest in purchasing a banner for themselves, a family member, we'd ask that you email Green Mountain Hometown Heroes at gmail.com, and we will send you an electronic application to complete. We would ask you to send the photos to the same email address. Checks can be dropped with the American Legion or the VFW. I just ask that you make sure that you note the veteran's name on the check so we keep your application and check together.
We do have an announcement for Veterans Day on November 11th. We have a Legionnaire at Post 13, Dolores, who she worked with Walmart in their 911 ceremony to help put that together. We are doing a Veterans Day ceremony and a reception for Banner families at Walmart on Veterans Day at 8 a.m. Walmart will supply light refreshments and coffee like they did for the 911 ceremony. And of course, the board members are invited to attend. I know there are a lot of events going on around town that day. I think there's a parade. That's why we're first thing in the morning. We'll be over and done with.
And just generally, we'd like to thank the board and the town for the support of this program. And we look forward to any more applications that people want to submit to us.
This is what our actual banners look like. This is one of our banner families from Bennington.
Super.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the select board comments? Nancy?
If someone wants to make a donation to help a family perhaps purchase a banner for one of their loved ones, is there a fund set up?
We would be happy to take donations if you want to subsidize a banner for a family. You can contact us at the Green Mountain Hometown Heroes Gmail address, and we can take care of that. Yep.
Okay. Great question. Any other questions, comments from the board? No? Anyone in the public have a question?
How much do the banners cost? Roughly?
$190.
You want to say that in the, yeah.
Yeah, it's
banner installation.
Say it in the microphone.
Yeah, it's a banner costs $190, and that includes the installation hardware. If you didn't need the installation hardware because you were just buying it for yourself, it's a lesser cost. I don't remember what the differential is.
Great, great. Any other questions? Nope. Then thank you very much. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing them go up on Thursday. Super. Okay, traffic calming. This will be very quick. This is just a quick update. In our packets tonight, we have the public comments thus far, and they are Jonah is continuing to collect them, and they're being collated, so we know where and what people are thinking would be helpful. In the works, Jonah is working on a policy proposal for the Select Board to look at that would sort of outline how we might go forward in looking at where traffic calming measures might get used that might impact the use of the carts. We're happy you're getting another cart. That's one less budget item that we'll need to look at, but we are looking at crash data information, which we're getting from the police, and we are also looking at sort of what overall, if we got more mobile units, depending on what we needed, are two enough? Do we need some permanent ones? How would we decide? That which would be part of the policy, and what the cost would be, and also really nailing down the cost for the speed tables and the humps, so speed humps. So hopefully next meeting we'll have some of that, we'll have most of that data. The reason we're collecting this and the reason we want to get this policy moving forward is so that we can address this in the budget. And I think the budget, November 11th is when when this select board needs to say, needs to talk about what we want in the budget that isn't there now, correct?
That's correct. I'd be looking for information from the board on any budget item the board might be considering. My work will be completed on the department budgets just before the Christmas holidays, and it's my favorite annual gift to the board.
Very sweet of you. Yes, and I understand. So that prior to that, definitely marketing will come up on the agenda, and we should think about whether there are any other areas that we're thinking we want to look at before by November 11th. Okay. All right. Great. So that was the traffic calming update. Development. Oh, any questions on that? Say that one more time. Yeah. Anyone from the select board have any comments on traffic calming?
I just want to thank the people who responded. I think some of their ideas were really great.
Yeah, and very specific.
Very specific, and we all aren't aware of issues that are happening on streets that we don't travel down very often, so it was very informative.
Yeah. Anything else from the board?
Just if we're talking about things for the budget for December?
No, we're actually talking about traffic calming right now.
Well, you're thinking about perhaps putting money in the budget for traffic calming?
That is why we're having all these meetings, yes. That was our, okay. We laid that out in the beginning, that in order to put money in the budget for traffic calming, we have to develop a policy, figure out how much things cost and what we're doing, so yes.
And you just spoke to Stu about when he was going to have the budget ready. He said before December, and we need to let him know about new things, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just want everyone to be aware that when this town goes through the town-wide property reappraisal in a couple of years, many homeowners are going to be hit very hard. So we have to be very careful before we think about adding something. Where are we going to take it away?
So Nancy, this is a discussion that we will have as a select board, and this is maybe the third meeting that we've talked about traffic calming measures, and it has been from the very first meeting an opportunity for us to explore this as it relates to the budget. And Stu gave us a timeline. All the data would be to us by the 28th, so the community and the select board would have all that information, and then if we wanted to make any recommendations, they would have to be made by November 11th. Okay. So this is the third meeting that we're discussing specifically this topic.
And I'm trying to point out that Stu had just said, we are going to have to, as a board, November 11th, let him know about anything different we're going to want in the budget. He's going to have it ready by December.
Well, so he would like that. What has always happened is after he gives us his Christmas gift or holiday gift, then during the budget meetings, which everyone is welcome to, which are Saturday mornings in January, at least 2 of them, we go through the budget line by line, and so we could make changes there, but I think what Stu is hoping is that we will be able to give him information ahead of time so that it's not a last-minute scramble to redo the budget. So that's all. It doesn't mean things can't change in January. We're just trying to be aware.
I just want everyone to be aware of what that reappraisal is going to do, and I would urge everyone to read about the meeting they just had in Putney, that over 100 citizens attended. Please read the comments from the people about what the reappraisal has done to their local budgets and to their local taxes.
Okey-doke.
Can I?
Yeah, so now we're moving, if the select board is finished with comments on traffic calming, now it's the public's turn.
Mark Wilson, who owns Bennington Tire, wanted to be here tonight
Yeah.
to talk about the traffic calming issue on Benmont.
Yeah.
He would like to know, are you going to, or can you have a special meeting to explain to the businesses that are on Benmont what this thing is going to look like, how bad is it going to be, how good is it going to be? He's got a big business investment there, and so does Waltz Auto and different businesses. They'd like to have a meeting, an agenda item meeting, so they can figure out whether they're for this or against it. Right now, they think they're against it because of what you've done down to the other end of it, down by, Apollo. And there is a petition out there, it's an advisory petition. If we get enough signatures by March, it'll be on the ballot, advisory to you people, have to go on the ballot if we get the signatures, not to do basically what you're basically planning on doing all the way up Benmont.
Okay,
And the
so
ti-
your
the time-
request is to have an overview of just the whole plan for Benmont.
So you could explain to all those people and the general public, what's going on. That's a biggie. The other things that they talked about from Monument and stuff like that, people, I think, understand that, and they probably mostly agree with it, But Benmont, as you know, I think I've spoken to you or Stu anyway, that is our next big area where we can develop it very nicely.
I think you actually, you spoke at the last meeting. You did that in public.
You hate to have somebody repeat themselves, but I forget.
The public can repeat themselves.
Well, don't you people do it. Thank you.
The public can do that. So, Dan and Stu, it feels like I don't know what the timeline on doing that is, but it feels like this is something that we would all be interested in if it's possible to do it. I don't know whether the planning is, whether that's possible or not. Someone want to?
Well, my guess is that continuing work on that particular project is somewhat down the road a piece, no pun intended. So I think we don't need to look at that, I wouldn't say, for this particular budget year, because we're beyond that in what else is to come. And I'm looking for Dan just to give me a nod to make sure I'm...
So there's no way that we'd have this project ready for next construction season, so it's not going to be in this upcoming budget discussion. It conceivably could be in the next budget discussion, and well before that, we could share all the plans and go over it, and even have a meeting where we invite each individual property owner to come to, round table or something.
Okay.
I just don't think it makes sense to spend a lot of time on this, since it's not even really likely to happen for at least 2, possibly 3 years.
Okay, all right, but before it does, but well before it does,
So what
there will
you've
be.
done now down by Apollo and Tenny Brook, that's basically it for now? It's not going to
That is
start...
correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right, well, see?
Okay, that's good.
Clarification.
But
Thank you
the
very much.
plans,
Thank you for asking.
I'm sorry, the plans all the way on Benmont to Main Street have been completed for a decade, am I correct?
Not for a decade, but they are completed. We haven't moved forward with them yet, so we can certainly go over them and make any changes if folks want
But didn't
to.
you go over it with the Benmont Avenue business owners about 10 years ago?
It was a long time ago, Nancy. I'm
Okay.
not going to say how long ago.
But that's why I
More than
think-
3 years ago, definitely.
I've asked repeatedly for a couple of months for everyone to see the plans, so the public can see, do they support them, or do we want to make changes?
Well,
why should we have to wait until the last minute to say, okay, we have the money, here's a done deal?
Post those again, and people want to look at them over the next year and a half, 2 years before we decide to do it, and then we have.
I don't want 15,000 people to have to go to the town office. It would be much
No, we'll
easier.
post them
on the
online,
web.
and they can just go look at them online.
Same thing.
No. So I think it'd be great if you post them. We're talking 2 to 3 years out. I want to remind us that this board does policy, we don't do curb cuts. So we're not going to decide whether the curb cuts are in the right spot or not. We leave that to the engineers. But certainly there is a role for business owners to say, can we do this rather than that? Or why are you doing this? But it is 2 or 3 years down the road. But I think if that can be posted, where would a person look for it? We don't know. You'll put it on Facebook, on the town's Facebook page, where to find it?
Post it up on our website.
Yeah, okay.
And people who don't use computers, seniors who've paid taxes 50 years, what do we tell them?
Most of the seniors do use.
I could name several right now that
And
don't.
they can go to the town office, or they can call, and we can mail it to them. And we have certainly done that. So it's not impossible to get the information.
So none of Benmont Avenue is being paid for with local tax dollars? That's all grants?
Maybe change subject.
Yeah, so, what's your name? Jean, you have a question.
I'm just saying that if you're going to post it on the website, maybe somewhere it should say this is not imminent, that it's years out. So people know that this is not final, this is where we are right now in the process, and changes could happen. Right.
Okay. All right, so going on the website. Perfect. All right, so anything else on traffic calming, or let's move on. All right, Development Review Board appointments, which we're very excited about. We had wonderful interviews, a lot of skills in town and talents, and we weren't able to fully utilize all of them because we only needed 2 people. There were only 2 openings on the Development Review Board. But I would love a motion from someone on the board to accept this slate and to read the slate. And I think we have at least 1 member here tonight who will introduce himself in a minute. But somebody want to make that motion?
I will happily make that motion.
Thank you.
Would you read us the slate as part of your motion?
Yes, I will.
Terrific.
The first person that appears on the slate is Robin Outwater for the 1-year position ending in June 2025. The second person is Daniel Murray for the 3-year position ending in June 2027.
Excellent.
I'd like to second that motion.
Lovely. Any discussion before we vote?
Thank you to the others who interviewed.
Yes. Thank you. All right. All those in favor of the slate, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Clark. Clark is here. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Wonderful. All right, and we have 1 member of the one new member of the board here. Do you want to just come up and say your name?
Dan Murray. Look forward to working with the board and being part of the community.
Well, we thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
That's wonderful. Excellent. And so now we move on to the manager's report, and we have a couple additional things, so I'll remind you if you didn't get them when you. I think the notes, the minutes, Wellingfield, and the automatic door opener.
Oh, yes. Yes, there was a question raised earlier this evening about the minutes for the most recent meeting being late. Our wonderful minute taker was extremely busy and was unable to deliver those in a timely fashion, but we have them now, and they are to be accepted, I guess, at the next meeting.
May I add something, since I'm the one under fire?
This, yes, they were late, and yes, they are supposed to be in the 5 working days from the meeting. However, this is the second time that this has happened in the decades that I have been doing minutes. And I apologize, I'm so sorry that no one had a chance to read them today. Probably because they were 10 pages long. But nevertheless, sometimes life just gets in the way. And whether it's personal or it's business, this is a part-time job. And I have a full-time job at United Counseling Service as the accounting manager. And when the auditors are walking in my office like by groups, I've had to put in a lot of hours and I just couldn't get to it. So I am sorry, and I'll do my best so it doesn't happen again.
Nancy, we always introduce you as Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes, so do not...
So Nancy, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for that unnecessary explanation.
Well, it's really, I don't mean to minimize it, but, worst things have happened.
Understood.
All right.
We talked earlier tonight about the first listening session for the Select Board coming October 16th. There are 2 additional listening sessions planned. They are every other month, December 20th and February 19th. So those are the 3 that we have coming forward for the Select Board. They will be in this facility from 6 until 7 p.m. And the board will hear from the folks in the community. There was a question raised, and I'm going to drop down to my follow-up here that was in my manager's report about the town plan and its acceptance. The town plan was amended with an energy process in 2018. It was adopted by the Planning Commission, forwarded to the Select Board, and after 2 hearings, the Select Board adopted the amended town plan. It was then submitted to the Regional Planning Commission, who has the authority under statute to approve and or extend the town plan, and they did so at that time. I know we have had some folks out there that don't believe that our town plan is in place. It is until January 22nd, 2026, and you can rely on that. I don't have any other thing. We know that Benmont Avenue, Hunt Street is finally striped and finished and paved. I think there's plenty of room for people there. I think people who are using it are actually using it at a little bit reduced speed, and I think that's one of the reasons it was done. So it's traffic calming at its best. The skate park is underway, and right now, HNB Construction, Paul Cummings has been doing the clearing and site work with some assistance from the town, but that is now moving along, and that's a wonderful project. We're getting a lot of feedback from people who are very anxious to see that come to fruition. And just for the coming years, I received notice from the state of Vermont that Silk Road and the North Bennington Road roundabout will be scheduled for construction beginning in the fall, potentially of 2025, carrying over into the 2026 construction season. That is a very complex project, so folks who use that roadway and who use that area, be prepared for some construction slowdowns as that project moves through, but it will make that intersection so much safer for everyone who uses it. Along those same lines, I did not include this in my report, but at last I knew, the bridge number 6 near Miller's Toll on Route 9 was also scheduled for renovation and construction in 2025. I have not had that confirmed or changed. It was a project that was bid. It came in far in excess of what the state had anticipated, and so they were going to be rebidding it. There has been some utility work done in that area. You might have seen some new poles and some lines being moved. That's in anticipation of that project. If that does go forward in 2025-26, you can expect the road to be closed, at least in the original plans, for a minimum of 60 days, and alternate routes will be available to folks, but that was the maximum closure that the merchants in that area were willing to accept, and the state has been working with that. We don't have much other information on that project since the bids were rejected, but that may also be coming in 2025. An exciting year. And was there something else I was talking about?
The door downstairs.
Oh, yes. You all, when you came in tonight, you noticed you were walking on a new sidewalk. That was the first step in getting an ADA door opener for that area. We have to reset the sidewalk, and that will be set into the sidewalk by Buildings and Grounds and our electricians, and that work is scheduled, I believe, to start Thursday of this week as well.
Whoa, Thursday's a big day, yes.
Thursday
Yes.
will be a very big day.
And then Wellingfield.
Wellingfield. There was a question raised about our employee assisting the North Bennington Highway Department in renovations to Wellingfield, which is a field that is in North Bennington. Historically, that field was used by many sports leagues in the town of Bennington, and the town of Bennington actually maintained it. When those sports leagues no longer used the field, and it became more of an open area and not a sports field, we asked North Bennington to take it back, that we were no longer going to spend our money maintaining it. North Bennington approached the town of Bennington about getting our help to renovate the field, to create some new ball fields, soccer fields, lacrosse fields. I'm not entirely sure how many fields are involved. Their bids from a contractor came in far too high, and we talked with our folks at Buildings and Grounds. We happened to have an employee who was available, who could operate the machinery. It is North Bennington's machinery, and we agreed to work with North Bennington to renovate those fields. We must remember that this is not the first time that we've ever cooperated with the villages, either Old Bennington or North Bennington, in providing our staff and time to help in times of need, but also in times of benefit to all. And also remember, and Dan was kind enough to remind me right at the end of the day, that North Bennington pays into the general fund tax, which is where our recreation monies come from, and our Buildings and Grounds monies come from. So North Bennington is supporting our general fund. Not that that's the reason we do it, but I think it's helps with an understanding that when our villages and towns work together for the benefit of all, that is a good thing. I'm not the first manager to authorize it, and I probably won't be the last manager to authorize it.
Thank you.
Great.
And that's all I've got.
Super. All right. Next is upcoming agenda. So the two things that we know, our next meeting is October 14th, which is Indigenous Peoples' Day, and we have the online commenting procedure coming back for additional conversation, and also traffic calming continuation. Those are the only two things I know for sure will be on there at this time.
That's correct.
And then but I'm sure other things will emerge.
As they do.
As they do. All right, other business. Jean, I think it's your turn to start first.
I can't think of anything. That's really sad. I can't think of anything. Sorry.
Nothing for me.
No, the quilts. Have you seen the beautiful quilts that are all over town? The one up at oh my gosh, I'm sorry, it's really late. The one at the place where I eat breakfast.
I don't know, you're going to have to carry the topics.
On Main Street.
Sunnyside?
Sunnyside, yes. The one on the side of, on the side of Sunnyside is beautiful. And they're all over town now, right? There are Ramontos, they're at Quilt Shop.
Yeah, they're at the Quilt Shop, they're at Ramonto's, there's one on the side of the local, Elm Street Market, the Community Market, and the Splash Pad,
And ask Tom why he knows this.
because I helped hang them up.
Where's the quilt shop?
Actually, the whole project was an idea that Vicki Lamprin brought to the BBC. They were very excited about it, and through a lot of different community projects, these barn quilts were painted, and we're finally getting to the point where we're hanging these up. So I was somehow enlisted to help as the liaison to the BBC. Bill Clark has honestly been doing the vast majority of the actual work. Mike McDonough has also been involved, and Vicki has been coming along to present an artist's eye toward placement and so forth. And there's quite a number of them that still need to be hung. So look for more to be coming in the very near future. And I've heard there's already talk of a phase 2. We haven't finished phase 1 yet, but I've heard talk of a phase 2.
Lovely. All right. Nancy?
Sure. Stu, at the last meeting, I asked you to send the rest of the board the information I received about where the money came from for the tennis courts at the rec center. Did the rest of the board get that info?
No, I didn't send that out. Unfortunately, that got lost in the shuffle, Nancy.
Okay. So should I email my information to the rest of the board?
Absolutely not. That's a violation of open meeting law. No, Stu can forward it as an FYI to all of us.
I'm sorry, Nancy, I did forget that
I'm
one.
requesting this be on the next agenda because none of it makes sense. Skateboard park, when Dan announced it over 2 years ago, he asked permission for 2 phases.
The topic of the second item.
Skateboard park?
Thank you.
The board approved Phase 1, which is the concrete you see going into the ground. Phase 2 is the building. So why has this building not been on our agenda for a big public discussion?
Because we're in phase 1?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's sort of like Socktoberfest. We're in phase 1, so that's what's been on the agenda. It will be on the agenda before we go forward with phase 2, right? Okay, so duly noted.
The 2 legal opinions that this board voted at the last meeting to make public, are they posted on the town website?
I believe they are, yes. Jonah? Yes.
And where can people find them?
Under the reports and documents page.
Reports and documents, okay. At the last meeting, Stu, you said the town was getting close to $2 million grant for the Ninja Trail. I'm concerned about the 20% local match, $400,000. When are we going to discuss where that money's going to come from locally?
Well, we're actually taking a look at the project at the staff level to understand essentially what we can do with the funds, how far it will take us. I think Dan has told me that it will take us almost to completion. Much of the match can be in-kind services, and we plan to use our Public Works and Buildings and Grounds folks to the extent that we can to help that construction move along very quickly. We know we have a lot of talented people working for us, and we think that will go a long way towards meeting that match.
When you're talking in-kind services, you're talking town employees and equipment.
That's correct.
Well, our town taxpayers pay for that. If we're going to pull them off other projects for a bike path down behind Hannaford, is that our best use of $400,000?
Well, we wouldn't be pulling them from other projects necessarily, Nancy. We would try to schedule them in so that they are working continuously throughout the year on projects of importance to the community.
I think this needs to be discussed before we commit $400,000 locally.
I think we already did because we've received the funds.
This has been a decade-long priority for the community.
But Dan, the people of Bennington never said, sure, we'll kick in $400,000 just for this section. I remember a couple of years ago.
No, we would have, because when we agreed that this grant, that we would apply for this grant, it was with the understanding that there was a match required. So it is not, unless the public is not paying attention, in which case the public won't know, they would know that, because that is how grants work. Jonah.
I apologize, I just want to make a quick correction. The two legal opinions are on the Select Board page, under the Select Board Documents tab, not under the Reports and Documents page.
So it's Select Board and Documents?
On the Select Board page, just scroll down to the bottom and you'll see Select Board Documents, and it's under there.
Okay. All right, so, yes, so when we do, the town is always very clear about what the match, there are, I don't know that there are very many grants that don't have some kind of match.
Obviously, it will have a budgetary impact, and the board will have to deal with that. That's what will happen, so,
Well,
to be determined.
A couple of years ago, the board and Stu made it clear they were putting $40,000 in the budget for the River Walkway, and they asked for public support. So aren't we going to have to put money in the budget for public support towards this $2 million grant?
We may, that's true. We have to fully understand what it is that we can do with our staff and our equipment that can reduce the amount of money that would need to be put into the budget. But there is, I think, some funds still left in our reserve for pathways, but I don't have that information with me tonight. I was not prepared to answer this question, but Nancy, it will, if we do have to put money into the budget, that will be in consideration of every other thing that we are trying to budget. This is going to be a tough year for all of us. And I've already advised my department heads what the schedule is, what we're looking at. I don't think you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff coming your way for this budget season. I think you're going to see some really well thought out budgets that are going to hopefully maintain a 3 to 3.5% increase in the overall budget. And that includes when we're looking at a 22% increase in healthcare costs that everybody statewide is looking at. We're looking at contracted raises for police and public works. We're going to make this work, Nancy. We're going to make it reasonable, just as we have done just about every year that we have worked on it.
All right, so I want to make sure, this is other business, so this is not discussion, because these are not warned items. So next item, please.
As far as Welling Field goes, did the trustees reach out to you?
The trustees actually, I think there was a conversation between Mary Rogers.
So Mary actually reached out to me and copied town manager and copied the head of, and copied Norm.
That's right.
LeBlanc, and maybe somebody else. And
Mark Sawyer, probably.
And yes, and Mark Sawyer. And so I said, do we need to have a meeting? And the response was no, because again, our job as select board is to do the policy. The town staff, we have just under 100 town staff, and they make us different from, no offense, Sandgate, but different from Sandgate, where the select board decides what potholes to fill. We don't have to do this here because we have town staff, and I will say they are an amazingly talented, good, caring staff, and they take care of this town really well. So it happened at a staff level. It didn't need to be at a select board level. It shouldn't be at a select board level.
Well, I think it should be.
And so I think at this point,
Jeannie,
you got the response.
I emailed you today, and I want to be able to have a say about this. North Bennington has their own board of trustees. North Bennington has their own highway department. Am I correct, Stu?
Yes, you are.
And do the North Bennington taxpayers pay to fund their highway department?
That's correct, they do.
So they probably don't have money left over coming to our town highway budget, do they?
No, they don't pay for our highway budget.
Okay. My concern is, especially now hearing that a North Bennington trustee contacted Jeannie and Stu, this whole board should have heard. It should have been a public discussion.
So I'm going to stop you there, and I am going to read out loud, just because North Bennington had asked previously how their taxes were determined, and so this is the response that was given by the town manager to the village trustees for them to share. The property tax bills that we send to North Bennington residents only include the general fund at .8778. The general fund does not include fire or highway. The major areas that it does include are police, administrative departments, recreation, and agencies. A detailed breakdown of the general fund departments is included on page 42 of the annual report, which Stu had attached. This is recreation. This is recreation. The villages are part of the town. We represent the town, the town proper and the 2 villages, with the exceptions of the particular areas that they cover, and their trustees cover those very limited areas. Everything else is part of the town. We use these fields, they are town fields, and whether you like that or not is a different question, but we represent not only the town, but the villages.
We do not tell the trustees of North Bennington how to run their village. Stu just said North Bennington taxpayers pay for their highway department, not ours.
This is not highway.
This meeting is 35 minutes over. I'd like to move on. We've asked and answered
I'm
this.
sorry.
Just can I clarify? Norm LeBlanc and Mark Sawyer. Mark Sawyer is our Buildings and Grounds
Yes.
Deputy Superintendent. Norm LeBlanc and Mark Sawyer got together. They took a look at the fields. Mark thought we could help them out. We took one of our Buildings and Grounds guys, who is paid out of the general fund, and he went over and ran equipment in North Bennington to help them with their project. That is the decision I made as the manager. It is a decision managers have made in this community since 1969, when the town became consolidated between the village and the town. This is no different than any other manager has done. It is not a select board decision. I'm in charge of the employees. I'm in charge of getting the projects done. Jeannie is right. You are the policy board. If you wanted to pass a policy that said the town shall not work with any of the villages in the future, that's a policy discussion that you would have. But until such time as we are prohibited from cooperating, we will continue to cooperate, Nancy.
So Nancy, can
I make a
Clark
motion
is
to
still-
adjourn, please?
So I want to give Clark an opportunity, and it is 3 in the morning about in Germany. So if we can so please share what you need to, and don't discuss it or argue it. Just share what you want to. This is other
North
business.
Bennington got $500,000 in ARPA money. Our town never asked North Bennington for $1 for Willow Park, the Ben High, the skateboard park.
They pay for it in their taxes. They pay recreation taxes.
They got ARPA money like we did, Jeannie. My point I'm making is that if the trustees decided not to spend it on Welling Field, I just want to know what this is going to cost our town taxpayers. We're talking about a field. Our town taxpayers are the only ones paying for the 2 fields up at SVC. But I think the school system uses the fields, don't they?
I'm sure they do.
But the school system doesn't kick in any money, just the town taxpayers.
That's correct. I mean, we provide athletic fields for all people in the region to utilize.
Thankfully.
So please, please, are there other issues?
The last is the town plan. And until somebody can show me a state law more recent than what I'm looking at, it appears we have not had a town plan in Bennington since last October. The state statute I am reading says local town plans, you can go through and you can, I forgot what the word is I had on here. But town plans can be amended over 8 years. State law says you can do that. But state law also says the local select board must vote to approve a new town plan every 8 years.
All right. So you've made your point,
No,
and that it is other
I want an
business.
answer about this, Jeannie. I'm very concerned that we do not have a town plan.
Okay, you already gave the answer. I hate when people have to repeat at the board level.
I will direct you to...
If you didn't interrupt
Nancy,
me and I
please.
could get an answer the first
He
time,
already
it would be
gave you
fine.
the answer.
I direct you to Title 24, Section 4345A and Section 4350. Both are under the Regional Commission statutes, and very specifically, it gives the Regional Commissions authority to approve municipal town plans, and that is exactly the process we followed. It was the Regional Commission that extended our deadline based on their approval process. The plan's in place. It is good until January 22nd,
It allows them
2026.
to make amendments. It does not
It allows
supersede.
them to approve town plans, whether they are an amended town plan or a brand-new town plan. They have the authority to do what they did, and we have relied on that authority. We didn't make this up, Nancy. This is what the law says, and this is what we did.
Can I please make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No, I went at, Clark, it's 2:30 or 3 in the morning. No, Clark, if you have any other business, please share. And then Jean, yes.
Other than to say, I'm actually,
We lost him.
Did we?
Okay, can I make my motion?
Sorry, Clark. Yes, I guess you can.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you for hanging in. Nancy, that question was answered in the manager.